Welcome to the
Bella,
Daily
thank you, guys.
Whatever. I'm Dana DuBois.
I'm Frederic Poag, Mrs. from a middle-aged man.
Yeah, and this is...
I'm Walter Rhein. I'm from I'd Rather Be Writing.
That's right. And you all may notice that neither of these fine gentlemen are Lawrence Winterman, my co-conspirator here at Gen XC and the Daily Whatever. Lawrence is attending one of the No Kings rallies in Fort Wayne, where he lives. And so he is going to be in the chat. I don't know if he joined already. Oh my goodness, look at everybody. Wow, the numbers are just flying in. I'm going to join our chat so I can keep up here as soon as it shows. But yeah,
I'm not finding it either.
he actually, so we were just saying we're a little rattled this morning because of the news coming in that I woke up to a text from Lawrence telling me about the assassination here in the US, which we're going to get to, and then a post from him saying that Iran is already threatening to attack all of our bases. So I just got off the phone with him and I was like, okay, Lawrence, we got assassination and nuclear war threat. Anything else I need to know before 9 a.m.? I'm like rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. Walter, I know you had started saying that you were really rattled by this. Do you?
Oh, yeah.
You want to jump in while I get the chat going in here?
Yeah, I was excited to talk to Frederic, and I'm sorry that I just read that news and I just felt sick to my stomach. And so I apologize that I'm in this horrible mood when I get to meet you finally, but I appreciate your work. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate your work too.
Thank you, sir.
You could have never met.
No, well, I mean, that's the magic of the beauty of Substack. We get to cross paths like this, and I've seen his stuff on there, and I've had more time to read everything.
Yeah, Walter's too. It's like I see him, I'm like, and it's like, oh, and that's one of those. I kept meaning to talk to you, and it's like stuff will come up or whatever, and I'm like, oh, well, this works out great then.
Yes, perfect. Well, I see everybody doing the good work, and I appreciate all you guys for all the good work you do, and all the people that come on here, especially. But I mean, I was all set to go and excited about this talk, and then I read that news, I just felt sick. I mean,
that normally, I'm the guy that I try to rational. I try to come with a calm, rational approach. The thing in Minnesota against the Democratic, I think was it a state senator or was it a senator?
Yeah, a former Speaker of the House. Of the state legislation. Yeah,
that's the stuff. Honestly, that has me more worried than Iran. Is that stuff?
Yeah.
Because now we're targeting. The crazies have been given license to target Democratic elected representatives, former or current. And you can't tell me Senator Alex Padilla of California being thrown to the floor, put in handcuffs, shown basically to be a criminal, is not impacting the crazies on the far right.
And they've been allowing them. They've been allowing them to run around with masks on, to not properly identify themselves. There've been endless talks where they're justifying this in right-wing media. And it's just like, law enforcement has to identify themselves as law enforcement, because anybody can cosplay that bullshit and stop around looking like that. I mean, this is just common sense. And that we're at this level, this is what was going to happen. This was always what was going to happen. And I've been worried that they're going to stomp into our schools and do the same thing. And they're going to steal our kids. And just this escalation of violence has been inevitable, and it's just disgusting. Denounce it at every level possible. And I'm already getting furious about the denials and the deflections and how they're going to try and spin this and blame the Democrats somehow. Our side has got a dead body now, and we can't let them steal these narratives like we always let them do. I mean, Jesus Christ. People are dying now.
Even the reports are coming out, and I wasn't sure, if the person had been killed, because of course the corporate media didn't say assassinated, right?
Yeah,
it was shot. So it's like they soften that where it's like
they always do. They always do. Yep.
CNN has it in quotes. Sorry to interrupt, but Minnesota state lawmaker killed in quote politically motivated assassination.
Yeah.
They also incorrectly used the hyphen with politically motivated, but I'll let that part go.
Even the quotes piss me off, though. I mean, obviously, they don't have to put it in quotes. It's obviously politically motivated if it's a politician, so.
Right.
This is so frustrating. I can't click into our live on
I I I
Substacks.
I
I've
think
got it. I can read question or comments.
well, this is how the right wing, the fringe operates,
Yes,
right?
that's all it
They
is.
have this, so they have it's to give them plausible deniability. So like Stormfront, all these white supremacist neo-Nazi movements, they predicate their model on the lone shooter, so they can deny involvement, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
they'll spin them up and they'll point them at an enemy, which they're criminals, which Trump uses their language.
yes, yep,
Criminals, R word, like you name it.
yep,
Like and he otherizes them to the point like, and they've done that with Democrats for years. Democrats are criminals, we're unpatriot, we're terrorists, we're this, we're socialists, Marxists, we're any enemy language you can think of. Right. And so then they point. So if a lone shooter happens to take matters in their own hands, guy with a hammer going to Pelosi's house or whatever, is they can say, "Oh, well, that's a kook. That's not us.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
didn't tell him to do that."
Right.
yeah,
It's that deniability when it's like, "No,
Oh
you
my gosh,
seated
Frederick, you're so right. That's always the language,
yeah,
the lone wolf.
that's it's by design. That's how the right
Yeah.
fringe movements do this. That's what they do is I mean, if you're going into say, a KKK rally or neo-Nazi rally, and you're told every day the Jews are to blame, blacks are to blame, Hispanics are to blame, over and over and over and over and
yeah,
over, and
yeah,
you finally take matters into your own hands because you know you're convinced there's a child smuggling ring underneath a pizza place in
yeah,
Crystal City, right? Then they can say, "Oh, well, that's not us. We didn't do that.
yeah,
That was a crazy person."
yep,
You know, but who made this person crazy?
yep. And
You
then
know.
they
Right,
add on top of
exactly.
that, with the further lie where they say there are violent people on both sides. When
Mhm.
if you look at the
Yeah.
statistics, the violence is overwhelmingly on the right. It's upwards of 9. I've looked at FBI reports, I've looked at arrest reports, all these things.
Yep.
Upwards of 95% is on the right. I
Yep.
mean, so to say there's one statistically irrelevant case, it's like has a person on both sides committed an act of violence? Technically, yes, but when 95 out of 100
Right.
acts of violence are on the right, then that's where the problem is. And it's
Well,
just
yeah, you're absolutely right, Walter. And the thing is, for us on the Democratic side, unless you really start getting into the far left, which we really don't have in this country in any kind of meaningful political
no, we
way,
don't. You're right. Mhm.
we're nonviolent, right?
Uh-huh.
Like one of the things you're constantly told is, oh, like go to this protest, be peaceful,
Yeah,
Like I remember one image. It was during the George Floyd protests, right?
Mhm.
I think it was in Louisville. It was in Kentucky, and one police officer got separated from the rest of them, and you had black protesters forming a ring around this police officer to protect him to make sure no one did anything to him because they know one
yeah,
police officer
yeah.
gets hurt, that's it, you
Yep,
know.
yep, yep.
And then you get January 6th, and it's like that day of love, as Trump likes to call it, you
Yeah,
know. Um, like Michael Fanone is a Substacker when he should be a Capitol Police officer,
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
I
he's
don't know who
not
that
because of
I don't know
Trump.
who that is.
Michael Fanone, so he testified before the January, him and Harry Dunn, they testified before the January 6th committee. He's on Substack. He was a plainclothes Capitol Police officer. I think he was a detective, and the call went out that the riot was happening at the Capitol, and he came over, um, and he was caught in the fray, and they bashed his head in. He was in a medically induced coma. He almost
Oh, that's
died.
that guy. Okay. I just
yeah,
didn't know his
Yeah,
name. Oh, shit.
yeah. You
yeah,
know who he is. Yeah, he's very brave.
yeah. I
He
mean, if you
testified.
saw his face and heard his voice, you'd know exactly who he is.
Okay.
But he's on Substack as a Substacker now because what happened with January 6th. He might still be a Capitol Police officer had January 6th not happened. But again,
What's
we're the ones that it's the people at elementary schools or at job sites or going to their court hearings. Those are the lawbreakers.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
absolutely. And
Oh
then you
my
talk
gosh.
about assaults against children, and that's always on the right too. It's just and that's what I was talking with the opinionated ogre the other day. Every single accusation from those guys is a confession, and that's the
Everyone.
guiding principle. Is just everything the right is accusing us of doing, they are doing themselves deliberately. And a lot of
Yep.
these things are like things we never would have thought about. Like decent people, we don't contemplate these tactics that they're throwing at us. So,
Yep.
oh,
Well,
that's
it's
just
like
hard.
I think and you can see it the way they seed this ground. So where they kind of seed the ground is, I think it was the other day, Marjorie Taylor Greene asked Governor, I think Kathy Hochul, I for New York, I always mispronounce her last name, but asked her like, "Hey, you say you're a proud Democrat. Is that true?" And she's like, "Is that a crime now?"
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
a crime. Like, that's how they treat us. They treat
yeah,
us like criminals. Like, we're like, and so they do that to ramp up their crazies, to push violence against us.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they did it on the right too. There were a lot of politicians in the Republican Party that resigned because they were getting threats. Now they stayed silent,
yeah,
for a lot of them have, but look at Liz Cheney
yeah,
or mayor from I'm sorry, Michigan, right? Rep mayor Anthony Gonzalez in Ohio. All of them have stated they've received threats,
yeah,
and Gonzalez and Mayer said they specifically got out of politics because the threats were getting too violent. That's on
yeah,
their side, and that's
yes.
why they're radicalized.
And
So,
and then it just makes me really frustrated when you get reporters talking to the press conference people and all this, and they're just like, "We got to round up the gang members." It's like, go after some of the white supremacy gangs. Then those are the guys making phone calls. Those are guys. But then it's like you catch these guys because I've had my fair share of death threats too. I mean,
oh
any
yeah,
kind of platform you write on, you're getting these death threats. You take it to the police. Oh, nothing. It's like bullshit. There's nothing you can do. Every single
right.
time in every part of the society, we have all these people that are caught red-handed doing acts of evil and violence.
Yep.
So I apologize. I just when I first 2 seconds before I signed in here, I read that article, so it got me all riled up, and I apologize to the two of you and to all the people listening. I'm not
No,
mad at you. I'm having a hard
I'm
time processing this.
I know I'm totally laughing that I'm like, um,
No,
been a
it's
very
okay.
long
Yeah.
week. It's Saturday morning here, and I'm like, y'all are the best because I'm like sipping
Oh,
my tea and nodding along.
oh,
Two of the
but just
smartest.
took the wind out of me reading that.
I
Holy
I
cow! I
I
sick. I'm sick.
I know it's
But this
funny.
is why we have to speak up. This is
Yeah,
why we
yeah,
have to show up, because our corporate media is failing us.
yeah.
The other
Absolutely.
side is not going to call for decorum. They're not going to call for justice. And here, like, it was like that Florida sheriff, you know, who said if protesters get out of hand, he did this threat escalation. You
You
know,
can say that kind of stuff.
yeah, we'll
He's
kill you,
threatening. Yeah.
graveyard dead. It's like, dude, let me tell you something.
Yeah,
JFK quote: "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable."
yeah,
There
yeah.
are more of us than there are of you.
That
Huh.
If you cut off paths for peaceful resistance, that I'm not making a threat. I want to be very clear about that. But as a student of history, I've
Yeah.
seen how that plays out.
right.
It does not what it does not play out very well, especially for fascist and authoritarian regimes.
All
It
these right
doesn't.
wing all these right-wing politicians have been calling for violence for a long time, and they've never been held accountable. They've been threatening other politicians, and that's a crime. And it's just again and again and again, you're not supposed to be the president if you're an insurrectionist. It's in
Yeah,
the damn Constitution. So it's like that's been decided. We just keep
right.
brushing off we have all these legal recourses, and they just keep acting like it's no big deal. And now we've got dead Democrats in Minnesota. And I just am worried that this is not the end. This is the beginning of more violence in the United States. And gosh, I just hope that today everybody out there doing their demonstrations is stay safe today. And we know the violence is coming from the right because the right wing is a bunch of terrorists, and they have been for a long time.
I
Yeah, we're here today to talk about, well, we're
Ah,
not specifically here to talk about the No King's Day protest, but it is a of political discourse
ah,
in honor
yeah,
of the No Kings protests that are happening everywhere. Lawrence is at one or on his way there. Yeah, Lawrence is saying it is the beginning. I can't see how this doesn't encourage copycats. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of you here, No Kings. Oh, excellent. So first question, are you bringing this one to a protest, Walter?
I'll do something. I bring my dog. I bring my dog and not a protest sign, just because the dog deters any kind of conflict. So I'll probably, and then I can make it into the guise of, oh, I'm just out walking my dog. I didn't know this was happening. I'm just out here, and then go and talk to all the people who are there and
Right.
see what they say. But it's supposed to be this afternoon. Something's supposed to happen at 4 o'clock, so I'll wander down there. But gosh, if you got something in your neighborhood, I've done this before. God, I need to talk to those people today because it was such a relief the last time I went, where just
Yeah.
the allies you realize are in your community. You need those
Yes.
people, and you read horrible news like what we have. I mean, it's an assassination happened today of a Democrat, and so on a day like today, and I appreciate the two of you guys being here today. Just it makes me feel better just processing these emotions, talking with you guys. Go out today, talk to people. But
That's why
we
we're
can't sit
here.
there and stew on it, because if you sit there quietly and stew on it and you're just angry, that's not good for your mental health. You got to go talk to people, see the other allies that are out there, and you'll realize there are a lot of us. There are more of us than them. There are good people here, and they're awakening to what the reality of our society is. It's been this way for a long time. I know that. A
Oh
lot
yeah.
of people can sit there and tell you that it's been like this forever. And it's like, okay, well, we haven't been active in the past. We have now. Be active now. Now's the time we do something about it.
100%.
100%. You know what, fellas, I hate to do this to you, but my dog is
Oh,
signaling
that's
to me
okay.
we're very pro podcast here, very professional
Uh, oh, that's
studio
okay.
space here. I'm
The
going to give
doggies
you
are our
guys
spirit
what
animals.
I would love to dive into is I'm going to give you a prompt because my audio may go out a bit when we'll be outside just for a minute and then we'll come back in real quick. Safety at
Whew.
these rallies.
Yeah.
Every Friday on the Daily Whatever, we have Fucked Up Friday. You both have been guests on it, where we talk about our fucked up news of the week.
Yeah.
Oceana was on yesterday, and two news stories I want to run by you. Hers was, I don't know if you saw this blip of a news thing that there's I forget what organization is trying to get a memorial, to commemorate January 6th on the White House lawn. That doesn't make every hair on your body stand on end. I don't know what will. But mine was, I'm from Florida, so is Lawrence. Florida and Georgia, the governors very strongly warned to if you fuck around and find out with these protests. And what was so fucked up about it to me was how is protesting becoming a bad word here, where
Yeah.
just the act of protesting means you sort of deserve whatever's coming to you.
Yeah.
And how have we come so far that that is now seen as un-American when it is profoundly American? And finally, what do we need to do to stay safe today?
Yeah.
I am going to I know you guys are going to have a lot to say about this. And I'm going to take my dog out while we discuss it. And if you lose me for a second or two,
Okay.
you guys
Yep.
maybe end up the only ones on the chat, but hopefully not. I don't usually lose full connection, just audio.
So
All right. Oh,
to answer your question, well, I'll do it backwards. So
okay.
first, if you're going to a protest, if you can go with people personally, I would be leery unless it's a registered sort of organization that you can verify, maybe a local party, or ACLU, something like that in your community. That's fine. But if it's just some group that's organized online and you don't know who these people are, be
Yeah.
leery of that. Don't bring any weapons, period. Like, you may think that you might need that, but honestly, don't do it. Don't bring anything that could be, even construed as a weapon, because the police, and if they are looking to, if someone's asking you to sit down or obstruct things or do something to purposely get arrested, be very, very wary of that. I would recommend not doing it. It may seem like a lot's on the line today, but it's really sort of not, in the sense of This is a long-term fight. There will be other protests. There will be other marches. There will be other things coming up. So you have to protect yourself. You have to be sure that it's okay if violence starts breaking out or the police start rousting people. Just leave. It's fine.
Leave. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. You don't have to. You do not have to stay there and take and get arrested, get thrown to the ground. Now, and if it happens, don't resist. Um, and be sure that you've told people that you're going to be at this thing, right?
Mm.
Because if you do get arrested or you do get detained, you may not be able to contact them, and they need a way to find you. So
Right.
just be safe. Really, don't put yourself in harm's way. I know this is a big deal today because of everything that's going on, but there's going to be other days after this. So
Yeah.
it's not an all or nothing thing today.
So you
That
don't see
that's
today as the day when it's like, we're staying till the bitter end. We're
No.
not getting off these streets. We're making a point. You're seeing this as we're all showing up. But if things start to escalate, get yourself to
Yep.
safety. Is that
right.
a good
It's always live to fight another day. Always,
summing-
always, always. This is a long fight. We got to dig in. We got to do this
Yeah.
until we win, and we can't afford to lose anybody at this point. But yeah, everything you said is exactly right.
Yeah.
I saw a note from Jess Piper because Jess Piper was reacting to this thing that had been going around where they said if violence breaks out, sit down, and
Those
she said
Occupy
no, no, no,
Democrats.
you need to walk away is the better thing, and I think she's right when she says that. I mean, we have to be mindful that what they always do, what the right always do, because the right uses violence as a political tool always as a fundamental part of their ideology.
Yeah.
That is the right. And so they are, without question, they are going to try to disrupt these peaceful demonstrations where we're in support of the Constitution. They are the ones who are going to try to disrupt it with outside agitators, which is what they did throughout the George Floyd peaceful demonstrations, which were overwhelmingly peaceful.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
videos that they took during that time of people in riot gear walking around breaking windows, where the people organizing the demonstrations like, what are you doing? Are you with the police? Why are you breaking windows? What's going on? They're recording them doing this. So if you see something like that, I think just get out of there. You have to get away. There's
know.
other places they're going to try to incite. This is what the outside editors want to start the riot, and then they'll leave, and then they'll get the innocent people caught up in that. So that's the
Right.
tactic that you have to be on the lookout for. So just
Right.
get out there. Don't be involved in any violence. Nothing violent at all.
Yeah.
It's the live to fight another day is absolutely it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and that's the thing is so, and to the larger point, asking about protesting America, where we're at in this place. Here's the thing that I always start out with is you need to stop thinking of like the Republicans or MAGA or Trump or any of these people as good faith American politicians that are just on the other
Yeah.
side. They've long since given that up. It is gone. So where we're at now is they're fascist. They're going to act like authoritarians. They're going to act like fascists. They're going to act this way. So when they do these things, when they say, "Oh, protesting is this," it's like when they're curtailing due process, when they're targeting marginalized groups, when they're doing these things. If you say, "Oh, well, yeah, they're fascists and authoritarians," of course they are, because that's what they do, and they are like. And the reason you want to keep that mentality is when we defeat these people, because we will defeat them. When we defeat them, the call is going to come out and go, we need to move on for the good of the country.
Yeah.
We need to just forgive and forget. It was
Oh my
only
God.
really Trump and just a few people. I was scared, and I didn't mean to do X, Y, and Z. And what we have to say is, no, you enabled this. You enabled fascism. You got into bed with Nazis and authoritarians. You're going to be held accountable. Like,
they're already laying the groundwork for that argument. Like, I'll make comments, be like, all these guys, they're like, well, you can't say all of them. Clearly, it's not all of them. It's like all rapists are evil people. All child molesters are evil. Don't tell me there's a problem with the word all. It's like if you're sitting there trying to defend that you voted for hate and violence against children, which is what this administration has been doing, They're stripping them of an education. They're deporting kids. They're sending kids' parents abroad. They're violating the due process. At the end of the day, and like you said, they try to spin it towards, oh, we're deporting criminals. It's like, you don't know what that you're deporting because you didn't give them a chance to have their day in court. I can make an accusation against anybody, and then if you're just sending people, it's like the people that inflict harm on others without a day in court are the criminals. Due process is what separates criminals from law-abiding people. So our whole administration is criminal. They're violating the Constitution. But I think this whole thing, what you're saying with why are these assemblies becoming, why is there controversy? It's because we're winning. We're already winning. We're really winning. And it's like all these embarrassing things are piling up. There was that issue with the Epstein tweet, there's all the embarrassments because everything this president done fails spectacularly. He's a total loser. The tariffs aren't working. People are pissed off because farmers, his supporters, are finding they don't have anybody to pick their crops. So it's just everything's compounding. Then we got Ukraine, just, devastated Russia. That makes our guy look like a fool too. Every single thing he's involved with has already failed. So he has to keep elevating the distractions so that we don't look at what a gigantic, pathetic, festering failure he is. And so I guess the latest, but then we get this assassination. So that's just every time they hit you with something, you have to absorb it and you have to recognize it's because they're losing and they're fated to lose because these asshole fascists always lose.
And this is what the right this is what the right really doesn't understand, is that the rule of law is to protect both sides. It's there to protect both sides, because
I usually
look at it like this. You open the door to assassinating Democratic politicians, right? You get somebody on the left who's been impacted by the Trump regime. You've already condoned lawlessness. We live in a nation with more guns than people. Maybe you can't get to Trump. Maybe you can't get to Kristi Noem. You can't get to Pete Heggers. But can you get to a state rep who doesn't even have anything close to that? Of course. When you normalize violence as a means against your political opposition, eventually the other side, the crazies on our side, because we have them, are going to go, you know what? It's time for payback. They ruined my life. They took my family. It's time for payback.
Yeah. You can't have this violence. Yeah, violence
we cannot have violence as a means of redress in our country. It's because it just breeds more and more. And unfortunately, we have a lawless regime in power now. So that's why we have to seek any and all means of nonviolent redress that we can now to potentially put a stamp on it. And so the thing is, these Republicans who are like, well, I'll just kind of back away. No.
Oh, yeah.
You got to come out too, because it's going to hit you at some point. You are going to feel this, and Trump is not going to care about you, just like he doesn't care about the rest of us. Yeah.
I have a question to follow on that. I do want to kind of finish the start of the conversation around going to these protests today. What other recommendations do you have, if any, for safety? My head is going through would you bring your kids to one of these today? How fearful are we about?
Depends on the community. It really does. If it's there's a protest that I'm on a business trip, so I'm not going to one. I'm currently in Virginia. But in Castle Rock, where I live, there's a protest going on now. They're expecting 1,000 people. Now, it's more of like a tight-knit community. Probably could bring your kids to that, and I understand that might be a reality for some parents that want to do something. You can't find a sitter, or it's too much or whatever. Now, if you were going to Denver, no. Any major city, like some place that has a potential to get raucous.
That's a good point. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
If it's a small community, like if you live in, a small town, or maybe somewhere where it's like, okay, and it's going to be more peaceful, and you pretty much know it will be. Fine. but someplace like Denver,
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't.
I
A
am.
crowd
My
is
kids
always
are.
inherent. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Walter.
I was going to say a crowd's inherently dangerous. So in the city, you get kind of squished. You can get squished. You can get trampled in a city. Whereas if you're in a wide open space with kids, it's like I think there's a value in showing your kids like this is what civil discourse looks like. These are our times, but from a distance, from a safe distance,
Yeah,
where you
that's
can
a good point.
see it. And remember too, your kids have to go to that community. Your kids have to go to that school, and you don't necessarily. You kind of want to keep politics out of the schools as much as possible.
Yeah.
Your kids have a whole social life you don't know about that they have to navigate. Those times are hard. So I think it's better just let them. And very, very small children you have to carry. Absolutely not. I think you're
No.
better off
No,
staying at
no.
home.
I have
Yeah.
2 teens, so mine are young adults, and they have been to protests before. Um, but and this is kind of leading into my next question. But before I go to it, I do want to say if you are in a city or anywhere where you think things could get crazy anywhere. So uh, if you are active on social media like we are, you may want to think about taking the lock off your phone, the face recognition off your phone, because people can't make you put in your code apparently, but they can make you open it with your face.
Oh,
Maybe write a phone number in Sharpie on your arm in case they do take your phone and you don't have anyone's phone number memorized, so that you can call somebody. Pack like Mylanta and acid and water in case there's tear gas and people are getting it in their eyes. I'm not a huge protester, but having been to a few in Seattle, like just some readiness 101 things that, or maybe that's like a 200 level course. I don't know, but be prepared. I I'm still wrestling with, am I going to get and go put my body out there today? Am I going to go to Cal Anderson Park, which is Capitol Hill, like the neighborhood one off downtown? It's where I'm sure you all saw this in the news during the George Floyd Black Lives Matters rallies. Seattle was a hub, and there was that whole kind of anarchist no government zone that made the news nationally.
Yes.
That's where the protests are. It's this lovely park, and there are apartments all around it, so people were filming. And if you were local, people were sharing the live streams here. So I wasn't there. I was watching what happened, and it was very much a stand down, like you're talking about not doing. Um, but I'm worried about. Here's what I want to hear your points of view, because I view you both as very smart, politically aware, but also rational and measured men. Um, I view Lawrence that way as well. And when the two of us get together, though, we do tend to look around all the corners and say, "Wow, so there's a parade, sure, in DC right now, but also DC has a battalion, right? DC looks ready for war,
Sure.
just the optics of it. We have Los Angeles, where it was. I don't want to sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but days before this parade, Trump picked a fight in LA.
Yeah, sure.
These
Yeah.
battles over ICE have been going on since he got here, but a couple days before his big birthday celebration, and I'm loosely air quoting that, he picked this fight, moved in the National Guard, moved in the fucking Marines. So we
Yeah.
have a militarized example for other cities and states to follow. We have Florida. I mean, I saw Missouri's already called in the National Guard. Like, the red states are arming up for battle.
Sure.
And our side is lining up to march into, I don't want to say a battle, but to peacefully protest. We all know that hundreds of thousands of people can't all have equal intent of being peaceful, whichever side they're on. And we also know that their side is likely to send in antagonists, right?
Yes.
And now let's overlay this with what last 2 nights ago, effectively an act of war. Israel is attacking Iran. Iran's attacking back.
Sure.
So I look at all of these things and I'm like, I certainly don't think Trump is a mastermind, but I do think he has masterminds working behind the scenes for him. how much of these things are happening in isolation and, oh, we're all here and what an interesting plot that could all be woven together, versus how many of these things are being done with intent, with the end game being a fully militarized country that's, the Insurrection Act is passed and
Yeah.
is put into effect. And these are the steps I'm seeing in my head. Walk me back. Be like, Dana, get off the edge of the ledge. We're not
I
losing
think
democracy.
you're adding connections where there aren't any, and you're
You
taking
think so?
yeah.
Okay.
There's isolated incidents. So okay. So I served in the military.
Yes.
I did a lot of operations management. Let's walk this back. Okay, what is the purpose of martial law, right? So you got like to have a military objective. You've actually got to like you need an objective to use the military. What would be the purpose of martial law? To
Mhm.
quell dissent. Okay,
Mhm.
like it's probably that works in a small country. In a country this large, we do not have the manpower to even occupy major blue cities. We wouldn't even have the manpower to occupy all of Los Angeles. Like you're talking tens of millions of people in the LA metro area. 700 Marines and
Yeah.
2,000 National Guard. What do you do? So the problem even from logistical support, you're taking people away from the communities, their families, you're taking these 700 Marines, you have to billet them, even if they're sleeping on the floor, you got to feed them, you got to make sure they have gear, they got to have equipment, fuel, like there's all the and typically where that happens when you talk to the governor is the states and the feds work together to make that happen.
Right.
Donald Trump has pissed off Newsom, and
Yeah.
now you have morons running the federal government. Those people aren't even supplied right now. Like that's why they don't have building. That's why they don't have this. They don't have that. So Newsom's not going to help them out,
I'm just going
right?
to pause you for 1 second. I really want you to keep going, but I'm like, thank you for like Professor Poag, please keep going because this is really
Yes,
I find you extremely reassuring.
that is
So
This
good.
is the kind
You
of
are doing well.
intel and like because I think you can see why these things to me seem
oh no,
Oh, absolutely.
to
coincidental
like
and alarming.
it is alarming, and
Yeah.
I'll get to the alarming part, right? Which is more legal and more like, but we have a moron in power, and so that's kind of our saving grace,
Yeah.
if so. So because the purpose is like you establish martial law to quell dissent. Okay, are you going to do that online too? Are you going to do that in other areas? How many governors do you think are going to go along with this, especially blue governors? They're not. They're not going to help you, right? So and we don't even have enough troops to fulfill our commitments overseas. Are you going to withdraw everybody back from all their commitments and then put them in the homeland and then have these it's kind of like I was in New Mexico. I'm traveling up from Las Cruces. I'm going to I'm going back to Albuquerque. I was on a business trip. And I had to pass by an ICE checkpoint, right? You know.
Okay.
And so they stopped me because I think my business partner's black, right? So we
Okay.
stop, roll down the window, and they go, "Y'all American citizens?" Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and so how effective is that? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, fine, you know. And so the effect, like what you're gonna like, so for Trump to actually implement this and how long and why, none of those questions are gonna be answered because they never are by Trump, right? So the reason he picked a fight in LA, oh, there's a protest. Oh, I'm getting ready to have my birthday. Oh, let's do this. And that's gonna distract from the horrible economic numbers and everything else that's getting ready to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I think that's primarily what it was, because the protests that all the corporate media fixated on were in downtown LA, which is like 4 blocks. That was it.
Right.
And so all the other protests that were going on throughout the city in Santa Monica, like all these other places that were peaceful, they weren't showing them on TV, but they were all over social media.
Yeah.
So now try to do that. And so here's the thing. So you would have to pull National Guard from other states to go police blue states because that's probably how they do it. They'd say Democratic governors are this, this, and this. We're going to send martial law over there. Okay, so now you've pulled resources from another state. You're going to make them pay for it. And most of those red states are also in Hurricane Alley. So you're going to have all these natural disasters, which the National Guard typically does in conjunction with FEMA. And now they're going to be. So what that also hurts, besides the people that live there, which are not going to like that, because Mississippi actually had tornadoes come through. 8 weeks ago, they still don't have FEMA assistance. They still don't have it.
I didn't even hear about that.
Exactly. And there's they're like, where's Trump? Like, where's FEMA? What, like, we don't have a house. No one's coming to help us. And so
really, I haven't that literally hasn't even crossed my news cycle. I haven't heard that. Not a peep.
And
he
so
just doesn't care.
And,
he just doesn't help anybody.
And here's the other thing too, right? Let's say you're going to slow down business. You're going to slow down commerce. You're going to slow down logistical resupply. You're going to do all that.
Oh yeah, he's not going to like that.
We haven't even gotten in. So definitely an economic impact. Not only in the states that you have a military occupation, but also in the states that are supplying them. We haven't even gotten into the reaction from overseas when they go, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
America's lost its mind. Let's pull our money out of the treasury bonds. So then, treasury bonds take a dump. Our inflation goes skyrocketing, and it starts to have a reciprocal effect. You think
yeah.
If they really want riots, oh yeah, you do that. Because what you're sending is, you are sending a signal, like loud and clear, to anybody that even isn't paying attention, as a remote. You are authoritarians now, and they're not ready for that. They are absolutely 100% not ready for that. Because for these people, all it is about optics. It's just optics.
Yep.
That's it.
And when you say they, you mean world leaders, correct? They're not ready for that? Or
No. Like, I'm sorry. I think MAGA and their adherents, they're not ready for that. Because the problem with, like, you see this with DeSantis, you see this with MAGA. All they know is they do this. Somebody pushes back in a moderate way, right? Or in a reasonable way. Well, that I'll just bluster and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then when you really put your foot down and go, no, okay.
Yeah.
They back off. Because
oh my gosh,
punks.
the bully. That's
it's why taco's a thing. Because Trump always chickens out. Go ahead. Well, I'm taking up. I'll let you jump in.
No, that's been so helpful, and it's so great to have your stable. I mean, I'm so glad for your military understanding and just the practical realities of so many things. Because the way this administration has always functioned is the illusion of strength, and you just push back on it. And I've been saying to people, there's no protection, because they want us to cower in fear of them. They want us to tremble. And if we surrender, if we comply in advance, then they win. And there's no protection in surrender here. We have to, it's like you think I can go huddle and I can wait. That's not going to happen. The only protection is to speak out and to protect the rights that you have.
Just because I say that, like, the feasibility of a military occupation really isn't there, doesn't mean this isn't dangerous, because you're setting a precedent that this can happen. And so someone who's a smarter tyrant takes what Trump does and then says, all right, I'm not going to target a state, but I'm going to target this organization. I'm going to declare them this, and then take away their funding. I'm going to use this of what Trump did. That's why it's dangerous. And that's why these people need to be held accountable, because then we can show, hey, this guy tried this and we held him accountable. Don't do it. Like, oh yeah. I mean, if we would have sent Nixon to jail and Agnew for a different thing, we wouldn't have Trump. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe we don't have Trump, because people go, man, did you see what they did to Nixon?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
He spent the rest of his life in prison.
Accountability at some point. Wouldn't it be nice to have accountability?
We have to have it.
What Dana was saying,
is weighing in the chat with, that's why the first thing we need to do when back in power is prosecute everyone, all caps, involved.
Yes, all of them.
But then
All of
the
them.
other thing too, like we said that the guy in the Oval Office, he's just signing the papers they put in front of his desk. But that there's these nefarious dark forces writing these executive orders. But they're all imbeciles too, I think. I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like anybody who's dedicated to white supremacy is by definition a moron. And none of what they
Mm.
are going to try to put into effect. I mean, they've been trying to put Project 2025 in effect. Even if everything of it was signed, it's not going to work because it was designed by idiots. These systems aren't going to function. They're going to collapse under their own weight. And what we always see too, when rich people start seeing the pinch, when the stock market, the rich people are like, oh shit, we own the media. Let's actually start covering this for real now. Because rich people are the first to cower it up. The rest of us are sitting here trying to huddle and survive because we're all working class. But it's getting to a point where rich people are going to start feeling it. And then we're going to see them actually start doing the things they should have been doing all along. They've lost more money by supporting this asshole than if they'd just been fair and got a reasonable politician elected as president.
It's
I hope you're
amazing.
right.
It's amazing to me where it's their whole plan with tariffs literally was, okay, everybody,
Idiotic.
we have a big economy, and we do a lot of international business. So if we charge them, then they'll just have to pay us. It's like, yeah, but what if they decide to make new trade agreements and trade systems and do business elsewhere?
Yeah.
No, that'll never happen. That'll never
Yeah.
happen. And here it is. Oh my God, it happened.
Yeah.
You know, what a shock. And so the problem is, so what's your plan B? We're supposed to have a plan B.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed.
Yeah.
I thought. Well, all right. Here's what we'll do. We'll deploy the Marines. Okay, to do what? We'll just be there. Okay, to do what?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and so that's the problem. They never could ask. It's just, well, we're gonna cut the budget.
Yep.
Where?
They haven't
It's,
thought it through because they don't
no.
think. They don't believe in like rational thinking about things. They just decide what they think the truth is and then march on, and they get all pissed off if people don't fall in line with them. It's like, you don't know what you're doing, you idiots. Some of us have seen it from the beginning, but when you start firing like the nuclear engineers in charge of regulating our power plants, when you start firing the air traffic controllers because they don't believe in experts in their field, it's sort of like there's consequences
La la
for all
la.
their
I'm
idiots.
flying next week. La 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 la.
Oh, sorry.
I'm so this
That's
has
the
been
case,
a wild.
Dana.
Yeah, this has been a
Well, that's the
wild
case where
thing.
the danger increases from 0.001% to 0.002%, with what they
Now,
did. So but it's still a danger.
I will say this, and
Yeah.
this is, if you need to mentally prepare,
Oh
like you
God.
need to prepare for this.
Okay.
It is going to get crazier. The more desperate he gets, the
Yeah, that's
crazier it's
true.
going to get.
Yes.
You're gonna like the Iran thing. Israel and Iran have shot at each other before. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
How'd you know
happened.
this is where my mind was going next, Frederick? I want your viewpoints on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. Could it lead to World War III? It's possible. I mean, anything's possible, right? But ironically, just from a foreign policy perspective, Ukraine is probably a big reason it won't, because Russia is spent.
Yeah.
They cannot
Oh, yeah.
support Iran,
Yeah.
especially after what Zelensky did. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
Operation Spiderweb, if we get to this
Yeah.
moment, may have just prevented World War III, a nuclear war.
We all owe it.
Russia does not
Zelensky,
have the
Ukraine.
strategic bombers for it.
Yeah, we owe
China's
them.
not going to get involved in that scrap because they're doing too well watching us, our allies, piss off our allies. It's like,
Yeah.
China's position, I guarantee you, will be like, oh, you want to go get in a scrap with Iran, with Israel? Man, go ahead. Like, that's fine. We ain't going to attack you. It's like, because you're going to pull resources from Asia and we're going to slip into our sphere of we're going to expand our sphere of influence in Asia. That's what's going to happen there.
Okay.
So,
and what about the rest of the EU? Are they just going to be like, y'all?
So here's the problem with that. Like, so looking at NATO, it's like if one of its members is attacked, right? Now, its support. What does that mean exactly? Oh, yeah, you could still use the bases. You have Rammstein. You could evac your personnel, and we can give you facilities. Heck, man, we might even give you some, like we'll let you dock and have your ships there. Are you coming into coalition of the willing and invading Iran with us? No. We got to worry about Ukraine, man. Putin's
I
on the
love that
doorstep,
laugh,
bro.
Frederic. Though you're like, no.
No,
Lawrence just texted.
no, we ain't doing that.
They're rearming, but they're rearming. I think you're right, for closer to home.
Yeah, I mean, and Trump has made them so mad, right, that George Bush relied, when he created the coalition of the willing, he relied on a lot of goodwill that the United States had, not only from 9/11, but also since post-World War II, right? So they're like, and even then, after a while, nations had enough of like, okay, yeah, we're tired of the global war on terror, America. You need to calm down. Iran, that has been like John Bolton was, before he became a never Trumper, he was mad. Like that was the whole reason he was in the Trump administration, the first one. He was a hawk on invading Iran. There was a bunch of neocons that when we invaded Iraq, they wanted to invade Iran too for the oil. Like Dick Cheney was kind of in that camp.
Yep.
So that's been a long-term goal for these people. But the problem is Trump, the reason here, this is why I think Trump's doing it. So the only thing that he can do to deflect from tariffs and immigration is oil. Oil right now per barrel is it's staying around 50 to 60 dollars a barrel, right?
Okay.
Now the problem with this is you start invading Iran, the price of oil is going to skyrocket because most even where the trade, like the shipping, it goes through the Suez Canal, goes in that area of the world, right? That's near Iran. So you have a lot of issues there. They might be going for a cheap oil play because even if everything else gets bad, Fox News and their cronies go, well, we got cheap gas.
Yeah.
We got cheap gas.
Not that cheap right now.
Where this could backfire today, see, and Luis Gatos pointed out, it's climbed up to 70.
Okay.
If oil goes past 100, which that affects everything else, which are the tariffs are going to exacerbate. Whoa, like the American people are going to lose their minds.
Yeah.
Like they are going to be like, so everything is expensive now. Gas, eggs, food, everything's expensive. And we're going to war in the Middle East again.
Right. And also, I'm not seeing this super broadly. I'm just poking around CNN as we're talking, but I saw on Lawrence Winterman's Substack.
You're right, Lawrence. $100. If it goes to 100,
$100
a barrel.
Tell me about what $100 a barrel means. Talk to all of us. I have an idea, but
you got to like energy costs affects everything, right? Shipping, trucks, all that, right? So we're already having an issue where we have tariffs. They're settling in like sort of at 55% because Trump can't get any deals done. So he's just going to arbitrarily slap it on. Now, what he's hoping is that if they can keep oil costs low, that you can, that'll balance out, right? So it's like, yeah, you're paying more over here, but we got cheap gas. Now, the problem is if fuel costs go up, and they'll just pass it down the line.
Of course.
Costs more to ship it, overseas. It costs more to put it on a truck. Costs more to, run the equipment that puts it on a truck. Costs more. Everything costs more. So now you have this tariff on the good, and it costs more to ship it, which is going to get transferred over here and increase it even more. That means inflation is going to start tricking up. And before you know it, and so the other thing too, that also makes foreign wars more expensive.
Right, because you have to get over there.
You got to get over there. You got to pay for it. That also makes occupying American cities more expensive.
Yeah.
Seriously, Frederic, it is an honor to have you here. And I'm like, why are you not on a bigger...
Yeah.
I don't like to use the pulpit is the word coming to mind because I'm like, you're like Professor Preacher Poag.
a
A triple
rational
secret.
perspective is underrepresented in the mainstream media. I did a whole talk about that a few days ago.
Yeah.
They don't.
That's why I'm not on there. They don't
They
want me.
talk. Yeah,
They don't
they
want
talk
me.
to like. They like to talk to like a fitness guru and say, "Hey, what's going on in the Middle East?" And this is a guy that just like he
Right.
lifts weights. That's all he's known for.
Or they'll go, it's like, well, see, I think Trump at blah 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 blah. And it's like he's not a
Yeah.
rational actor. He's not.
Mm.
I personally, I have no evidence for this. I don't think Israel told the US. I think they just did it. And then say, we're gonna say you did it. And Trump, I think Bibi played him because Trump's, oh, okay. Yes, I authorized
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It was me. We did it.
Trump impressions are the best.
Yeah.
And Trump is such an idiot where it's like, dude, you just got put on the hook for this crap. You
Yeah.
just got put on the hook for it, man.
Oh, there's
That
no
makes me
plan.
feel
You're
so
right.
much better than this was an orchestrated, like, we're gonna
Oh
right
God,
before the
no.
big military coup, and
He's
then,
over his skis. Everything he's doing now is an act of desperation, and it's getting more and more extreme. He's way over it.
If you were the Israelis and you're getting ready to
Oh
launch a
yeah.
preemptive attack on their nuclear facilities, you gonna be talking to jackass Pete Hegseth or JD Vance on Signal? Hell
Yep.
no.
He's got
No.
everybody against him, and the whole world's like, oh, they're incapable. Let's do what we want to do. Yeah, it's awful.
It's like, honestly, you're getting on the horn. Hey, yo, JD, hey, what's going on? Hey, man, we gonna attack Iran. Oh, when? The missiles are gonna hit in like 5, 4. They should have hit. All right, we attack. Cool. You're on it. Thanks, bro.
peace out, bye, love you, baby.
That was it.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
And
you're
I
so
think
right.
I
Frederick,
think
I feel
Bibi
so much
did it.
better.
And I honestly think Bibi, well, he's doing it because the Gaza thing ain't going well. It's a whole ethnic cleansing thing now. And he's desperately trying to stay in power so he doesn't get ousted and then, put in court.
Good
So
luck,
Can we
Lawrence.
wait
He's
till
on his way.
Lawrence? Lawrence
Be
is
safe,
leaving for his
Lawrence.
Snow Kings. Bye,
bye,
bye, bye. Be
Lawrence.
safe. Be safe. Raise hell. Defend democracy.
Have fun defending democracy, kid.
I also want Fusin in the chat just said I wouldn't tell Pete Hegseth what I was making for dinner via Signal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
True.
Yeah.
100%.
But what are you making for dinner? Because I heard it's good. You can
First
tell
of
us.
all, the first thing I'd ask was like, bro, how'd you get my new number? Man, come on, man. Tell Elon to stop giving it out, bro.
Oh, my, that's right. This was a private number. Changed because of you.
Yeah.
We talked about this, Pete.
Chicken
Oh my
Kiev.
God.
We talked
Chicken
about
Kiev.
this.
Oh my gosh. Could you
Don't
share
be
that?
sending me your plans.
And now I think, is there a chance that they're like, this is where I worry. Is Trump stupid? Yes. Could he be talked into by right-wing war hawks as a wag the dog strategy to invade Iran? Absolutely.
Also, yes.
I think that's on the table. That would be a disaster for us because the people that are currently in the Pentagon and the generals they fired. Oh man, like a lot of people,
Yeah.
not just Iranians, but ours and Israelis would get killed. And for a horrible thing, which would be just two corrupt leaders that are basically one convicted felon, the other one who should be convicted, are trying to save their ass and throwing, basically working class folks into a meat grinder. Well, innocent Iranians die. That's like, is it world war? No, I don't think so, but it's probably a regional conflict. But for what? You're talking tens of thousands of people dying, and that's the thing I'm more worried about, if I'm being honest, is like Trump, because Trump doesn't do things in America's best interest. Trump does things in his best interest.
Yeah.
To
wriggle out of
it could be and that's the thing is, the problem is once a conflict like that kicks off, it could be, you never know where it goes.
Yeah.
You never know what exacerbates the next step and what starts that's why Ukraine and Russia is so dangerous and needs to, and really needs to end, and so, do I think it'll pop a worldwide war right now? No. But if we invade, you're increasing the chances of it.
Right.
You know,
And apparently, what Lawrence had put on Substack that I'm not able to open right now is that Iran is threatening that they will target our military bases if
Mhm.
we stand behind Israel. So if there's an attack on our soil, I mean, all bets are off then. I mean,
It's
and
chaos.
it really depends on what the what the operation was and what they're trying to do. I mean, if it was to slow down the enrichment program, so it was a calculated strike, then you could because they shoot at each other every once in a while. The problem with this now is and this is there is no way we get any kind of new Iranian nuclear deal. This is not going to happen. So
doesn't seem likely right now.
that door's been slammed shut. So while Israel may have stalled that or slowed it down, they didn't shut it off. And so and I don't know if I don't know if you go back and restart those talks. I think they're done. And so that's the thing that sucks. Is there's probably you don't decapitate not only military leadership but civilian leadership and be like, hey, we're cool, right? I mean, we bombed you bombed us, we're good, right? It's like,
Right.
no, if this is going to be a tense situation for a very long time. And I think it puts Israel on a worse footing because the sad part was before Gaza, they had built up a lot of goodwill in the region, and Bibi is burning through all of it.
It's
And so, and now you have a United States that's
Yeah.
increasingly diminished. Because again, Israel is kind of the United States special friend, right?
yes.
EU doesn't look at it like that. They don't look at Israel the same way we do. Damn sure, Europe, or I'm sorry, damn sure Asia, they don't look at them the same way we do. So
How do they look at it?
it's just another country. We were one of the first ones that backed the creation of Israel post World War II.
Right.
So
I was educated very well about this in Hebrew school.
yeah. So there's a special place for Israel to America, but it's not the same in Europe. They support Israel's right to exist, but there's not that special close ally relationship. It's even though Israel's a non-member, they're considered, I think it's some acronym, like they're a close ally. That's because of us. Right. So the sad part is if we were to ever leave NATO or get kicked out, Israel loses a lot. They lose a lot of protection from the EU, from Europe. So what Bibi has done with Gaza and now Iran, he's made Israel much less safe and they're much more tenuous. And that's, I think, he doesn't care. He's just trying to, because that's the problem with both these leaders. With Trump, they don't care about America. They're not stewards of their countries. They care about themselves. And they are willing to throw all of us on the fire if it protects themselves or makes them richer. They do not care. And that's why they're dangerous. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go. So you're not worried too actively that any of this is orchestrated. That's what I'm hearing. All on no King's Day / military might birthday parade day in DC. You don't share my paranoid concerns.
He wanted to have a May 5th parade. Like in Russia, he wants to have his little dictatorial parade. He wanted to have one in his first term, and his advisors were like, no.
Yeah.
And so
when does it start? Has it started yet?
No, I think it's it's at 6:00. Don't quote me.
Oh, it's that late?
What
I was wondering if
does military
that
parade start? You want to know something else really funny? What time does it parade route. Come on. If there was ever a time when I wanted Google's AI to just pull it up for me, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It never works
I-
when you want it to.
That assassination just threw me for a loop. It made you just rethink. But yeah, you always got to take a step back from the ledge with all the worst case scenarios. And that's just the
Yeah,
way it is. The illusions
it's
and the
late.
things, the presentations, the stuff that they're trying to present, the strength that they're trying to present. It's all a distraction of the reality of their fundamental weakness. As long as you keep coming back to that, you're all right.
6:30,
he
you
wants
guys.
he wants to have it to where he's like, we have the greatest missiles. It's like he
Yeah.
wants to have ICBMs parading down, I guess, Pennsylvania Avenue or whatever. I'm like, oh, just like in the Soviet Union, right? You know,
Yeah.
like it's a joke.
Isn't it going to
Yeah.
destroy the roads? That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Probably.
The parade is from 6:30 to 7:45 p.m. Eastern time today. So it's
Okay.
not for a few more hours. And here's a crazy thing I learned this week that is very amusing to a music live show fan like me. Do you guys remember Warped Tour? I feel like you're like the demographic to remember Warped Tour back,
Nope.
like the punk rock festival that would happen every year. It's the 30th anniversary of Warped Tour.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And their play, it's in DC
Nice.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's all these old punk bands, and even like Avril Lavigne's going to be there, and Fishbone. And
Perfect.
I looked it up, and I'm like,
It's their
one of my
moment.
friends is flying in for it, and she had no idea about the parade, about the armament, none of
How
it.
are there people that still are not aware of what's going on?
And she's a naturalized citizen, and she was like, "Do you think I
Oh,
need to bring
wow.
my passport?" And I was like,
Bring it.
"I don't think you should go."
I wasn't aware of Warped Tour. I was reading my Bible, and I
Right,
didn't
of
I
course.
didn't care for the devil's music back then.
Okay,
Hold on.
good.
It's been around for
Walter gets it. He gets it.
so what I'm wondering,
That's what I always say too to my family.
being the Gen Xy woman that I am, I'm like, so are these like Rage Against the Machine, fuck Nazi kind of punk rockers, or are these like angry, full on Trumper punk rockers? Who's there?
Are there?
Yeah.
Are there?
Either both? Because these are some. I don't recognize all the bands, but I'm just looking here at the list of other than the ones Bowling for Soup. I'm trying to find ones from like back in the day. There's one called Knuckle Punk, which is a great band name. I don't know them, but I'm kind of jealous I didn't think about Knuckle Punk. That's really fun to say. There's another one called Scary Kids Scaring Kids. I mean, it's like if you click the link, you'll see We the Kings is one of the bands playing. I can't make this up. What if there's an attack and it happens during the We the Kings set? Like,
it's the perfect place for
Sublime is
punk
playing.
rock concert is the perfect place for this.
Right.
This is the time they were born for. So
they're gonna have he's gonna have his little parade.
Yeah.
You know, and it's gonna be like, it will be lucky if none of the equipment breaks down because it's all National Guard equipment.
We should discuss this might all just end in just a total pathetic whimper, you know.
And then he's gonna
there
give
is that possibility.
You guys,
he's gonna give a speech that's gonna be highly partisan, you know, and he's gonna talk about
like this.
Yep. He's gonna be like, we're dragging America away from the Democrats and the terrorists.
Yeah,
we're entering a golden age.
Oh my God.
And then
they're gonna play YMCA.
And then somehow Van Jones or somebody like him is gonna get on and go, you know, tonight Trump looked very presidential. He looked
God, yeah.
Not Van Jones. Oh, say he's not gonna say that. I do have to interject and say there's another band name here. It's just Oxymorons.
Good name. That is a good name.
And they misspelled, I believe intentionally, 2 R's in moron. And another one called Silly Goose. I feel like if this were a novel or like nobody was writing about this, they could name each chapter one of these. I Am the Avalanche. Like each of these. Less Than Jake is playing there, like back in the day. So who knows? There's just something so amusing to me about the fact that there are like thousands of crusty punk rockers just like flying into DC, some of whom have no idea what's happening, and they're going to get there, and there's going to be tanks and
I always wanted to start like a doo-wop band and call
Yeah?
ourselves the Power Washers.
Really? Can you sing?
No, but
Oh, yeah.
but I
I
I
just
could
want to
do,
be in the
but
album
I
cover.
can do bow bow bow.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can do that
Yeah.
part.
You look like you could be a good baritone if you had, like, you bring us down a whole octave, buddy, in a good
That's
You need
way.
a
it.
tiny little banjo.
That, you know, it's like
Oh,
I mean I could do the oh yeah, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I
my
can't sing, but I could just do those kind of It's like she was sweet, that kind of stuff.
you
Yeah,
got it. You got it.
yeah.
My daughter, my younger daughter has gotten into theater recently, and we joke because it's true that her high school's like choir and theater programs are super competitive. So she's auditioned and not gotten into a couple of plays because as a freshman because it's so competitive. But the boys always get in because there's so far fewer of them
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
automatically like there's a bias that you're like up a level no matter what. So you come in and do that, like you're in.
Yeah.
You're in the top level choir. That's all it
I,
takes.
I would basically be like Dan Aykroyd when he was with John Belushi and they're doing the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like the other day I had a wish sandwich. A wish sandwich is 2 slices of bread with no meat. Stuff like that. The other day I had a ricochet biscuit. A ricochet biscuit is one you throw against the wall, and if it don't bounce back, you go hungry. Bow bow bow. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, a wish sandwich was you. It's like you have 2 slices of bread and wish you had some meat. Bow bow bow.
Right.
That's a wish sandwich.
Good.
So
Oh my gosh.
I wish
That
we
is
had a
hilarious.
functioning government, is what I wish.
I
yeah, right. I
girl
love that
same.
the one guy from Doge was like, I found that government actually really isn't wasteful. They're like
Oh
they're less
yeah.
wasteful than private corporations. They're just inefficient. Yeah, they're inefficient because they have
Yeah.
to go by the law and they have
It's
to
like
go by privacy and all these things that we want.
Of
it's like
all
when
the
the
myths,
flat earthers earthers recognize the curvature of the earth. They're like, huh, that's weird. I just did an
to get there.
experiment to prove it was flat. And there's a curve that I discovered. Why is that?
It's like, I think government should be run like a business. Um,
Yeah.
no,
It's just
dude,
that, like,
it's national security. I don't want our enemies
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
finding out our secrets. They're not making a Chipotle burrito, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you think this is one of the like most harmful? So being a storyteller, there's like certain facts, like a common truths that just have to be believed for this sort of government and situation we're now to be believed. And I think one of the very worst ones that has worked really well is that that government needs to function like a business. Government
Oh yeah.
needs to be efficient first,
Oh.
and government needs to be like the profit, just like in the private sector, needs to be the guiding principle for government.
Mhm.
And I think if we could pivot that narrative and have
Yeah.
people understand there are things in life where it's expensive and slow and inefficient for
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
reason, for many reasons, like healthcare. Like
Yeah.
to me, that should be the first one. We should be able to help people understand that, like, when your health is on the line, making decisions based on
Yeah.
costs shouldn't be the lead.
Well, the other thing is too, right? Think about your
Not
own life.
Amazon Prime. Yes.
Think about your own life. Does everything in your life have to generate a profit? No.
Yeah.
There's
People
sometimes
take that
it's
a
like,
lot. It's
how many
pervasive.
times have you had food that you're like, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna do better,
Yeah.
I'm totally eating a salad, and then you get to the end of the week and you're like, man, I want that good pizza with the craft beer. It's like, all right, you know what? I just got paid. Here's $50. Yeah, but I thought we were saving money. Yeah, well, that was yesterday. Today I want the pizza and the craft beer. And so it's a cost, right? Universal health care, it's a cost.
Yeah.
Like we say we want this for our people and our society, we're willing to pay the cost. So, the people who benefit the most from this society should front more of the cost. That's fair. Not saying you can't be rich, but damn, man, we can't give you all the money and function.
Yeah. Well,
I think
we
to
already
first
have
get
Medicare. We already have Medicare because the elderly, you can't insure them profitably. It's not
Yeah.
possible because the elderly have medical. So the government stepped in to take care of that part of the population. So then we can have this this illusion that for-profit healthcare is even possible, which it is not. But I think it all stems from the prosperity gospel is what the
Yep.
issue is. The other day I wrote, and it's like, look, if
What's
you
the
say the
prosperity
love of
gospel?
money is the root of all evil, then the prosperity gospel is Satan worshiping. And it's like we can't make any headway with this kind of it's like, yeah, we've trained ourselves to love evil in the United States is what's happened. And we haven't pushed
Yeah.
back on it.
And it's
I love
pervasive in
how
everything.
the
Yeah.
prosperity. You're right, Walter. It's like it was literally started for Andrew Carnegie. That's what it was for. So these people who were robber barons could justify themselves being rich. It's basically a play on divine right of kings, right?
Yeah.
Well, obviously I'm the king because God, that's what God wants. And God's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So, it's just like, no, and that's the problem with any kind of religious thinking. It's like today there's thunderstorms going on. I kept wondering if like there's thunder and lightning behind this parade. The Christians are going to go, well, that's just God sending that he's got Trump's back. That
Yeah.
he's sending the thunder and lightning because that's what's coming.
But if it were our
We could hope
parade,
for
it would
that.
be like, that's just God trying to rain it out. Right?
What if it was a sunny day? That's God smiling on
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I
It's
believe
whatever they
it's supposed
want.
to literally
Yeah.
rain on his parade. I believe the weather forecast is rain, which makes me happy.
But
That's God weeping with joy
Yeah.
and showing that he loves Trump so much because he's
yeah.
his
Yeah.
second son. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like messaging and how pervasive it is. Like, so I have two teenage daughters. So college prep is one of them is a junior, so it's like eminent. And like we used to get an education to be thinkers, right?
Yeah.
We used to do it because we wanted to be a nation that knew how to decision make and function in the world. And even if you just look at colleges, there's
Yeah.
it makes sense that there's a cost benefit analysis given the cost of college, but right, like liberal arts degrees are dying out because it's not immediately tied to profit. Never mind that it used to be that having a degree in English or history meant you were a really good thinker and writer, and that translated to jobs.
Mhm.
That this myth of if it's not immediately and always efficient and profitable is like in everything we do
Yeah.
here. Like that's sort of one of there needs to be a use case that, and I have to think it's in healthcare to like reframe that messaging. I remember years ago being like, universal healthcare should be messaged as a national security problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if we don't have it, if people get sick, it doesn't, I mean, you can isolate yourself to a certain degree if you're wealthy, but ultimately, there are public places where people meet. And if the people around you aren't able to take care of their health and they're contagious,
Yeah.
you've got it too. Like we all breathe air and are made of cells that that can get ill, and some things are contagious. So there should be this understanding that like it goes even back to the Bible, which is funny for me to quote of like we are our brother's keepers because there's a universal interest in elevating if all of us are a bit healthier and and stabilized, it makes for a more stable country.
Yeah.
I'm watching my neighborhood in Seattle because I've lived here now, excuse me, almost 20 years, get more and more expensive. I could never afford to live here if I were trying to start now instead of 20 years ago. And at the same time, the homeless population is skyrocketed here. And so we have these like multi-million-dollar homes surrounded by like I went out to walk my
Yeah.
dog at 4 a.m. and there's someone passed out in my front yard, right? Like it's I feel like we're the perfect example. My brain is weaving these multiple things together of like, hey, community
Yeah.
that's wealthier, if you pay taxes, because we don't have
Yeah.
a state income tax.
Better for
So
everybody.
all these people who are like coming in and making the money to afford to buy here, we're not taxing their income. And therefore we're having these income gaps and disparities and lack of social services. You now have like it's not the safest neighborhood that you would think that a multimillionaire would want their home to be in, even though it's still a very desirable neighborhood. Like you'd think that people would make that connection of like, if I pay taxes
Yeah.
and the fentanyl addicts have a place to go to get treated and they're not sleeping in my front yard. That makes my life better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the
Connecting all these things in
indoctrination.
a cogent way, at least somewhat of like, how do we get that messaging out there that like some things are not financially really a private company's not going to take it on because they can't make money doing it. That's what the government's for the things that private businesses can't do. It's not so that the government starts to act more like a private business.
Yep.
We've got
The
it backwards.
indoctrination runs deep though. And
Yeah.
I've been exploring that because I grew up in this really red rural community, and it's just, and I think one of the things that happens is the right, they just use rote. They repeat, 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 repeat. And the left emphasizes there is a place for rote. I mean, you got to memorize certain things. If you're learning a foreign language, you got to memorize the words, things like that. But the left emphasizes critical thinking. And the thing is, what the left hasn't figured out is you can't defeat what's been learned through rote with critical thinking. You know, some of that rote has to be
Indoctrination.
contested with rote. And it's just like I think that's where the disconnect is. We got all these people with Ivy League degrees on the left, and they're just acting like, well, it's obvious, all these things. But having come from one of these red rural districts, and it's taken me a long time and I like learning, and I'm still finding things. And just
Yep.
what you were saying now, I mean, I had a degree in English, but I had a moment of panic, and I picked up a minor in physics. And I think it was because
Oh my
I think
God.
it's exactly what you were talking about. It's like, I got to get something that actually can make money. It's like I wasn't completely convinced. Even as a person who escaped from that and went to college, it still controls your actions and you don't even realize it. So I think that's the reality of what we have to deal with.
Absolutely. And it's well, the thing is, a lot of this cultural stuff is baked in, and it's stuff that like you we were sold on this version of America
Yeah.
by rich people that never existed,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And so and over time we seeded a lot of the gains that our grandparents had made, that, things that they had gotten government to work for them. You got to remember, the government only working for Americans, like for community, the Wisconsin idea that started in the late 19th century in Wisconsin.
Mm.
Progressivism really didn't take hold until, like, Teddy Roosevelt started doing pieces of it. And then FDR took it a step further because we had a worldwide calamity for 10 years. But even since then, the rich on that other side of the fence have been trying to roll all that back.
Yeah.
And they were successful with Reagan. And so over time, they've been slicing that salami, they've been cutting it thin ever since then. And we've finally reached the logical conclusion of it. We're here.
Yeah.
And it's not working. It's like the social contract of, hey, if you work hard and you keep your nose clean and you're a good American, you can at least have a sustainable living, and you can have a family. You're not going to have a big, massive house, but you get a 2, 3 bedroom one. And if you work 40 hours a week, and you'll be fine. That's for the
Anymore.
most part gone. And where it's touching people now is, that was sliced off, say, in the 80s and 90s, right? It started to get harder for working people. But then it was, well, if you get a degree and you get in the knowledge class, you get in tech, you're going to be fine. And who's getting laid off the most now? People in tech, right? So what's happened is, this wall that was supposed to be, oh, well, that's the blue collar. That's their fault. They should have gone to school. They should have got
Yeah.
a degree in physics. They should have got a degree in computer science. Because if you know how to code, you're always going to have a job. And here you are.
Right.
No job.
If you're a carpenter, you're probably okay. But if you know how to code, you're screwed right now. I had to buy some clothing I went out to LA. I was doing a business trip. I have a degree in philosophy with emphasis in religious studies and history. And I have a master's in history. I'm supposedly unemployable.
Yeah.
And yet I've worked in politics, I've worked in operations management and aviation because I'm a critical thinker and I can do research and all this other stuff. So I was going out for a pitch and I was buying some clothes, like nice jeans, like sport coat, collared shirt, all that good stuff. And I was talking to the guy and he said, "Yeah, I've been in this job for about 5 months." I was like, "Well, dude, man, I was like, I appreciate you helping me pick out my clothes." I said, "What'd you do before this?" He's like, "Oh, I was a computer programmer for 15 years." I was like, "Oh, damn." That's the guy that helped me pick out my clothes,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
you know? And this notion, this social contract is fraying apart and they don't know
Yeah.
what to do, right? That's what's
Yep.
going to change it because we finally reached a place where, you know, 10 years ago when I was like talking about class consciousness and I was saying it and blah, 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 and we need to have universal healthcare, I was the fringe.
Yep. Yep.
Now I'm a centrist, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
I'm like, maybe we ought to take
Yeah.
healthcare outside of the private sector and put it in, the government.
Yeah.
It's like, and they're like, and now people are like, free Luigi. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand, but calm down.
Yeah. 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 Get
Yeah.
it.
Like, so I mean, it's, I think to Walter and I came from similar areas. I spent a lot of time in East Tennessee, so I came from a very red area, which is why I got a degree in religious studies
Yeah.
because it was like, well, these people been lying to me my whole life. Let me go ahead and let me. It's like, what?
I've been reading myself. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and that's why that was a big reason I did it. It's like, well, I don't want to do accounting, I don't want to do engineering, so if I got to be here, well, I'm gonna learn something I want to learn. It's like, who was this Jesus guy? Let me research about him.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God. Um,
but
you're going
but
from
yeah,
company
I
to
mean,
company.
you're taking on. I mean, it's like with patriarchy. It's like with anything. You are taking on some very deeply ingrained ideas. Like
Right.
I mean, so ingrained. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like women being overtly sexual still kind of scares me a little bit
Really?
because it's ingrained. It
Yeah.
was ingrained where it's like men. It's fine for men to do it, right?
Yep.
But if women do it, man, there's something wrong with them. Like it's something
Really?
wrong. Yeah, I mean, because you're
Oh,
taught that, right?
ladies, listen up.
But I mean, but you're taught that. You know what I'm saying? So you're
Yeah.
It's a
going
control mechanism. It's to
right,
control
100%.
both. It controls everybody, though. It controls the men and the women.
Yeah,
And just the whole idea of like a compassionate, caring relationship is actually discouraged in these rural areas. Like if you are in any way kind of friendly, then they accuse you, then you'll be attacked for being too effeminate. You're not the masculine ideal, so you're beaten. And that kind of stuff. I mean, that it's ingrained. I mean, and it's
100%.
again, the right wing is the one that's sexualizing and abusing our kids from a very young age. They're the ones that are emphasizing sexuality before you even have any kind of concept of this, but in a toxic way. And that's what has always been the case in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and so and it's part of that conditioning that it's like it kind of creeps up, and and you start to go down that path. We go, no, 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 no. Like
Yeah, it's
that's
hard to
not.
overcome it.
Yeah, you got to overcome it, and that's what I'm saying is, if me, who's done the work because I wanted to get rid of this stuff,
Yeah.
still struggles with it.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
hard do you think it's for someone that not only doesn't want to overcome it, but
Mm.
thinks you are all these things for trying to get them to overcome it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Man.
yeah,
So that's what you're up against. Like that's why I always tell folks it's like you're better off trying to get someone that's closer to where like on the fence and trying to
yeah,
get them activated than arguing with a hardcore MAGA. They're
yeah,
never or a hardcore sexist, hardcore racist. You're not changing their mind. They have to be open
Protect your
to it
peace.
first.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Boy, this sorry.
yeah.
This
No, no,
conversation has gone. We've. I'm just thinking of like a recap in my head. I'm like, how could we even recap how far we've traveled today? It's been amazing. It's been
But
amazing.
yeah, I mean that's why I see these young men out here. They're like, talking about women and body counts and stuff. I'm like, bro, like, come on, man. Like that was ceasing to be a thing when I was coming up. Y'all brought it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because patriarchy is insidious, man. It never sleeps, you know.
No, and
And
it's been tapped into hard. And
yeah,
I don't encounter it online a ton, being the age and sort of person and writer who I am, but I've seen enough of it to be like, wow, what are my daughters coming into? And to question back to college and careers and universal income and what is still going to be a job, like, and layer on top of that, like, is the world going to be safe? It is crazy to try to launch your kids into the world right now and be like, where and how, like, the East Coast trip I'm about to go on is college related for my child. She's going for like a week, rising seniors, live in the dorms, kind of a summer camp, I guess. And I'm like, this school would be perfect for her. But I'm thinking like, wow, rising fuel costs, and wow, like, potential of attack on our soil, and da da da. I'm like, do I want my kid 3,000 miles away to get a
I
job
mean,
that may or may not be in a field that exists in 6 years?
here's the thing: is like you never know what the future is going to hold, and the thing is, like, the world is more safe than it's ever been.
You
Ironically,
think?
yeah.
You think?
Oh God, yeah. Like if you've studied the Cold War and communist containment, there are
Mhm.
brush fire wars popping up all over the place. You know, and so
Plugging my phone in. Sorry, just I'm getting a
the
alert.
thing is, like, the thing is, we just have more access to information nowadays, so it feels like it's not as safe. And it, if you want, if you're looking for a world that's going to be like completely safe, that ain't never gonna happen. You know,
No, of course.
and you're never gonna figure out. Um, you're never gonna have it to where it's like, what's gonna pay off for this much and this much.
Yeah.
What's the right move? What's this? Now, the thing is, what you should ask yourself in any kind of situation really is: have you done the work? Are you trained? Have you trained yourself? Have you built yourself up to thrive in this kind of environment? Or if you take a hit, can you get back up? Do you have resilience? And if you have
Yes.
those things, and if I'm assuming your daughters have those things because they're your
Yeah.
daughters, they're going to
Well,
be fine.
I
I
hope.
would say this.
They'll be fine.
I would say
You know?
maximize your education and then minimize your debt. And I think between those two things,
Those things
you can
are at
handle
big
most things.
odds. Those are at big odds, Walter.
It's
Thank
hard,
you.
but I've got my daughters are doing such a good job finding the ways they can get as much, college degrees while they're still in high school, or college credits while they're still in high school. I keep telling them, like, doesn't matter what it's in, just get any kind of credit. Doesn't matter if
Yep.
it's something you don't like, get it for free because the high school has to pay it, or if I have to pay $100, that's fine. But yeah, maximize, like, get a degree as quickly as possible, whatever degree it is, so you can start working as a professional. Don't and avoid the debt, because the debt is everything is tied to debt in the United. That's our control. That's the
Yep.
control. You're only free in the United States if you can get rid of the debt. But if you have the debt, your health care is tied into your employer, and so all these things they make debt easy. That's the control mechanism of this country.
That
Yep.
is the thing I'm trying to instill in my kids the most right now, of like your father and I have been saving a long
Yeah,
time. We do not have enough to cover what a lot of these schools cost, not by miles.
yeah,
Um, and also they're not great at math, so I'm like, you cannot
yeah.
understand what $80,000 in debt at 8% interest or whatever student loans are at now, like, will do to
Uh,
your life. You
can't
can't.
get a
And you
student loan, dude. Any other kind of loan but that. Don't do that. Get money elsewhere.
Go to a school that's paid for. You know what I'm saying? Just go to a school that's paid for,
I
and
don't
you're
think
fine.
there's any school that's paid for. But here's a question, because I remember we've talked about this before, Frederick, that your first time I heard you, you were talking about kind of the EU rising, the
Yeah.
euro's worth rising over the US over time. And my kids are EU dual citizens, right?
Oh, perfect.
Go send
So
them
we
Germany, you can get an education for free in Germany.
for
Go look it
free.
up. You
they don't
can,
speak
if
German,
you're a
but
U.S. citizen, yeah, even there.
they're Irish citizens. Sadly, they cannot get EU tuition in Ireland. We went and looked a couple months ago.
Hmm.
They we would have to pay out of country tuition, even though they're citizens, because we're not taxpayers there. But they don't speak German, so it would be tricky to go
I
to.
think
But
it can be. I don't even. I think they might even offer it. I don't know for sure. I have a friend who actually
yeah.
sets people up in abroad in this.
It,
Ooh, I might want to
if
talk to
you
your friend.
I gotta just contact
if
him.
you
But
want it
that's
to
the
be a little more romantic, right?
yeah.
Have them join the Merchant Marine, right?
Ooh,
Work until they get into Germany, jump ship, right? Go to Germany and then declare that they're seeking asylum. Come German
Yeah,
citizens, go to school. There you go.
they're already
You know,
EU citizens. They can go to school in Germany at EU rates, but they just don't speak the language. But the Netherlands is I believe it would be EU tuition there, which is a lot less. And a lot of the schools teach it English. But isn't their government falling apart? I think I just read that.
the
worse
Netherlands.
than here. Yeah, it can't be as bad as here.
Can't be as fancy. What I've heard, and I don't know if this is true because we haven't done a deep dive there, is that they have their own right wing folks who are like, why are we paying to educate the world? Because they're teaching in English, so they're getting a lot of international students coming at the cheaper rates. But the bigger question there is, uh,
If
what is
only
the
we
state
had
of
someone who lived in Amsterdam. Dang,
we
we
don't
don't.
anymore. Portugal. Houston is
Yeah.
in Portugal. Yeah. Um, right. But my thought is like, and I wrote about this after we went to Dublin, that I was like, is it my job as a parent to sort of not force, but very strongly encourage, like, get to the EU because that's where your life will be better as young women and onward. Like,
Yeah,
make it feel like home. It will probably never feel
yeah,
like home to me because I have too much lived experience here. But for my kids, like, where is the world going to be in the next 50 years, 60 years, as they're coming into their adulthood, working, finding relationships? Like, I look at the US and I'm like, my God, if
yeah,
they date men, what are their lives gonna be like here? What
yeah,
what and then I just get stuck in this, like, I don't have citizenship. Maybe I could get work there, but, eh,
I mean,
might be able to.
that's
Not,
I mean, the thing is, like, that's a lot to put on yourself, right?
yeah.
this is me every day, right?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Oh, I
but
worry
the
about
thing
this.
is that
Yeah.
none of that's in your control. Like, none of that is in,
Isn't it
so
though?
no,
Oh,
it's
well,
not.
just avoid debt. And then, but Dana, you might be able to find some sort of like a teaching English abroad for a year type program
Yeah.
for them. And then they're making money, they're experiencing another culture. Then they're like, they kind of get a little bit of time to mature and see new things. And then they can be like, okay, this is what I'm going to study now. It's like you don't have to go the route where it's like you have to go to live in a dorm and you have to take on all this debt and get your degree in 4 years. It's like, I'm going to just not go to college for a year. I'm going to teach abroad. I'm going to take a job. I'm going to go abroad. I'm going to find a university there where all of a sudden now I can get a degree over in this other new country. Because there's a lot of options. It's just get outside of don't feel the pressure to go this kind of tried and true path that leads everybody to misery and massive student debt. There's a lot of
Yeah.
other options out there.
Oh,
Can I go
tons.
teach English too? That sounds kind of fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I've done it. It's great.
I
Great
mean,
job.
yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, the thing is, like, your kids are gonna go out and they're gonna have. Look, it's just because there's crappy men here, there's crappy men in Europe too. But there's good men here too, right? And so
Present
the
company.
yeah,
I
I mean, the best thing you can do is you teach them to be resilient, to to be intellectually curious, and to just go forth into the world and do their best and be good people. And if there's no everything else, there's no guarantee. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't
They,
know I'd be in aviation. I was supposed to be a security analyst in the Department of the Navy. Like, that's where I was going to end up. And John Boehner basically, with sequestration, said nope, and there went my job. And I was like, all right, man, I guess I'm throwing bags in East Tennessee. And then lo and behold, I had an aviation career. I didn't
Yeah,
plan for it.
that's
It
true.
just kind of happened.
I
You
was a
know?
speech pathologist. That's what I went to college for and grad school. So,
Yeah.
and what I wanted to do didn't exist until 20 years after college. So
Yeah.
the world is wild. I just hit 10% battery power on my
All righty.
phone. These lives are. This is a long one, and do they drain your phones too? I mean, my iPhone is not that old, but
Yeah,
I
mine's
hook it up.
down.
I feel like they suck everything out of the iPhones, but they enrich all of us.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. No kings. Thank you
No
so
No
kings.
much.
kings, no kings. Oh my gosh, we have 278 folks who've joined this chat today.
Well, thank you, everybody.
It has been an honor having you here. You guys
Oh.
have calmed me a bit. I woke up pretty anxious about the events of today. And
No.
to everyone in the audience, if you are at or going to a rally, be safe.
Yeah.
Don't fight. Don't sit down and leave if things get real crazy.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Take care of your own. This is a war, not a battle. Wait, did I get that backwards? Keep perspective.
right.
It's just one day.
No, you got it right. It's like
Okay.
this is defending democracy. It's a lifelong obligation. So we want you to live as long as possible.
Yep. Be safe. Be peaceful. Protect yourself. Have an escape route anywhere you go. Know how to get out of there. That's the big thing.
That's it.
100%. Fellas, thank you so much for coming on today, for your wisdom, for your passion. It's going to be okay.
It is.
We're all on the same
We're
side.
gonna win. Yeah,
We're gonna win.
We're going to win. No kings. Defend democracy. Love you, mean it. Bye, everybody. Thank you again.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.